Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer. Today we're taking a look at and installing our Westin Pro E electric running boards for 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500. Our Westin running boards are really cool. They're going to allow you to have a running board that tucks away under your rocker panel here just by opening and closing your doors. And with that, I'll go ahead and shut the door and show you how that works. Once your door gets shut, it's going to go back up and tuck right up against your rocker panel. When you open up any of your doors, it's going to open up, and it's also going to give you a light to where you can see where you're going to put your foot when you're getting in your truck. These are going to be made of a really nice powder-coated aluminum, and they do tuck up really nice and hide away. I really like how that works out. They do have really heavy-duty mounts, and the motors on these are really strong and they hold up really well. When you step on these, they feel really solid. There really isn't any give at all on it. You'll have a little bit of flex, but you're going to have that with any of your running boards. So they're really tough and durable. And it will take away a little bit of clearance. So if you do a lot of off-roading or overlanding, you do want to keep that in mind because your mounts and your hinges do hang down a little bit. These will hang down a little bit further than what your normal running boards were, so do keep that in mind. Now how these work is you're going to have a magnet on one side on your door side, and that just sticks on with some double stick tape there. And then you're going to have your sensor, which will pick up the magnet once you close or open your door, and that's going to trigger your running boards to open and close. So as soon as you close it, it senses that magnet, and then it will go back to closed. Now there is a way that you can turn off your system if you don't want your running boards to operate. It will come with a switch, and you can put your switch wherever you want to put it. We have it tucked away right inside there. So when you turn that off, your running boards are actually going to go back closed and not come back open until you turn that switch back on. So that's a really nice option with this system. Now say you don't want your running boards to deploy, all you have to do is hit that switch to off, and that's going to close them back up. And now when you close your door and open it, it's going to shut that off so you don't have to have that opening all the time. When you hit the on again, it's going to go ahead and reset, and now it'll operate with your doors again. Now, if you have these running boards or you plan on getting them and you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comments section. As far as installation goes, there is a lot of wiring with this, but mostly it's just running the wires. You do have a big wiring harness with it, but it's laid out really well, so it isn't really hard to do. If it's something you don't have time to do yourself, you can go ahead and take a look at our dealer locator and get something done for you locally. Or if you feel like doing it yourself, stick around, watch our video, and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation, what I usually like to do is get my motor assemblies placed in their respected locations. Now these are going to be marked. This one has rear right, so that's going to be our passenger rear. And the one I have up in the front is going to be our front right, and same for the other side. So we just usually like to get these laid out so I know exactly where they're going to go. And I also have our control box assembly put over here, and that's where it's going to go on our passenger side. We're going to start on the front passenger side, and we took out a rubber grommet right here that's going to interfere with our mount. And we had a plastic plug right here, and behind that there is a weld nut, and same down below here on our rocker panel. We just popped those out, and that exposed our threads. So now we're going to take our bracket that is marked front right, and we're just going to get this loosely put in place. Now you may have a wiring harness you have to move down just a little bit to get your motor in place. We just want to loosely thread that with our included hardware. And we'll move on to our rear on the passenger side. Now we're going to go ahead and mount our motor assembly to the rearmost part on the passenger side. And we did the same thing as we did at the front. We have these two weld nuts that were behind these little plugs, and we also took this plug out as well. That way it doesn't interfere with our mount. We're going to do the same thing we did up front and just go ahead and get this loosely put in place with our hardware. Now we have our bracket and our control module here. We need to get put in place. So we have two more weld nuts, and that's where we're going to mount them. And it's basically right in front of our center body mount right here on our frame. And it even has a hole for our bushing, our grommet here. So we're going to just get that put in place the same way as we did our motor brackets. So now let's get those threaded in place. And once we get our hardware in place for this one, we're going to go ahead and snug them down. With those snug down, we'll move on to our driver's side. Now on our driver's side, it's going to be the same procedure as the passenger side. Basically, you're just going to loosely get your bracket and motor assembly put in place. The only difference is on your passenger side, you're going to have your control box, and on your driver's side, you won't. Now we'll just loosely get our running boards put in place. It's a good idea to have an extra set of hands to help you line them up. We're going to have these sliding mounts on the inside. These are going to go back and forth, so it's going to allow us to adjust our board where we want those. So the best thing to do is just kind of get them about where they're going to go and watch where your mounts are going. Get one in the back. And then you can get your front one slid in place. And keep in mind, you can adjust these after you get these put in place. They'll be able to slide back and forth, but the main thing is you just want to be able to get your hardware started. And this can be the tricky part, just getting everything to line up. So if you take a flashlight and look up in these holes, you'll be able to slide that little plate back and forth until you get that lined up. Now on our passenger side, we got our hardware to get lined up. Inside here, that little block that slides up and down that channel can be a little bit tricky to get lined up. So when you get it close, when you get it set in place, you can kind of push it just a little bit. But what I did is I would take my Allen wrench that I'm using to tighten these and just stick it up in through there and try and get it to move around inside of the block. And then I would hold it there and kind of get one started by finger tight. And it took a bunch of trial and error to get these started, so that can be a tricky part of this. But all we're doing now is getting our hardware in place on these, and we're just going to get them loosely installed. Now once we get our running boards where we want them, I usually just measure from the edge here to this line and get a baseline of where I want to be. And I'll kind of look at them and get an idea of where we're going to be stepping in the front and in the back. So what I did is just got them where I want to be on one side, and then I adjusted to have the same distance between this line right here and the edge of our board. Now that we have them in place where we want them, we'll go back through and we'll tighten down all of our hardware. We have our harness all laid out, basically where it's going to go. We have our power wire with our red and black up front, and both of those have our fuse holders on those, and we have that running where that's going to go. Our brown, white, and with our two black wires, that's going to go through our floor to the inside. And now all this other down here is going to stay below. Now we'll get our wires routed over our frame and everything where it's going to go. Just kind of get everything put over in its place. The portion of our wire that we have that has a protective coating on it is going to go across our cross member and over to our other side. And that's going to be all tied off in place. The main thing is we want to make sure we don't have any of our wires touching any moving parts or anything like our exhaust that can get hot and burn that. So after we have everything routed, we've got everything where it needs to go. All of our plugs are in their general location. And everything that's going forward is where it's going to be, and our wire that's going to be going through our floor is on the other side of our frame. So we came across, went over, and then our wires that are going to our driver's side came up over our frame and then down, and all of our wires are going to be labeled. So we have our rear left, so that's going to be our driver's side rear, and that's going to go to our motor in the back. So we're just going to get that clipped in place. You're going to have your latch side of the plug on the motor and our clip. Want to get those popped in place. You'll have a good audible click. And we'll do the same for our front motor. Now, hanging off of this, we're going to have our wires, and these are going to be for our LED lights. And these we'll put on after we're able to get our boards to come down, because we want our LEDs to be on the outside of right behind here, so that way they're going to shine on our running boards. Now we have our connections that come out of our box on our passenger side, and we're going to have color-coded connectors. You're going to have your red and your gray. So we're just going to take our connectors, our small ones, and we'll get those plugged in. And you're going to have inside of here, you're going to have a part that sticks out that goes into our connector here. So you just want to line those up. Now, the same as the red one we just plugged in, we're going to have our gray one, and you're going to have a little spline that runs up that one as well. And you're going to see in the end of this one where there's a space down here, those are going to line up. Just take your time with this and be patient. These can be a little tricky to line up, but once you get them, they will click right in place. Now we have our large plug and our small plug. We're just going to take those and get those plugged in place as well. So we ran our wires that are going to come up through our floor through a grommet. We drilled a 7/16 hole and ran our wire up through that. And we ended up running our white wire and our black wires that are going to our switch up under our carpet, over, back behind our center console, and then over to our driver's side. Now we'll show you how we're going to make our connections over on the driver's side. Now we have our floor mat out of the way, and we're going to need to get our panels out. So we're going to have our entryway panel here, and that's going to be our front kick panel as well. That's going to come out as one piece. And we're going to also need to get our threshold in the rear out. So all we're going to do is just pop that up out of the way and set that aside. Now we'll pop out our front threshold as well. Now for that, we're going to have this panel that goes around our seat frame. Just want to pop that up, pull that up out of the way. Now we can pull up on our threshold. Let's get our fingers under that, pop that up. Pull back on that whole assembly, and we can get that moved out of the way. Now I just want to pull our rubber back, the seal, that way we can get our hands on our gray part. Just get that popped back. That's going to allow us to pop our center panel out of the way. Just carefully apply pressure. Now this little clip wants to fight a little bit, so I'll just pop that with my panel tool. Now I'm just going to leave this in place. I just need to get enough room to get my wires to come through. Now, before we do any measurements and put any marks on, I have a general idea of where our sensor, our little sensor and our magnet is going to go. So I just want to take some alcohol and get this area cleaned up on both sides of our door where the magnet's going to go. And we're going to do the same thing in the front. Now I want to take some measurements, and I'm going to go from the center line of our catch up here on the back of our door frame. Just want to get centered up with that. And I'm going to go 4 inches down from there. Just put a dot, so we're good there. Now we're going to go by where our striker goes into our door, and we're going to go from the center line of that 4 inches down as well. Just put a dot. Now we're in the rear passenger compartment, and we're going to go from the center of this bolt that comes off of our door. We're going to go 2 inches down from that, from the center of our bolt. Now we'll come over here on our door side, and we'll go 2 inches from the center of this arm down to our door. And right there. And we'll make a dot. Now we have our rubber trim and we have our mark. So what I want to do is just pull my rubber trim out enough to where I can get my wire and my sensor through. Now for my front one, we have these all connected. So my front one, I'm going to use this one for the front because this has my plug-in that's going to connect to the white wire. So now I'll take this sensor. Now we have all this cleaned off. Now we'll just get this put in place, trying to keep it in line with our striker. And we have our rectangle portion here where it's going to be making contact with the magnet. So I'm trying to keep that in the center line with our door pin. Now we'll pull off the sticky part from our cover of our rubber wire here. Just get that pulled back. Now we'll stick that to our door frame. Run that back behind. Okay, now we want to take our white wire and run it underneath of our carpet. So right back where we had it coming through. I want to get it behind our black wire. That way we're not pulling on that when we pull it through. Make sure we get that out of that. Now I'm going to tuck our white wire back into our carpet by our gas pedal. Push that down as far as we can. Now we can get underneath of our carpet, grab our wire, just pull that through. Now once we get that underneath our carpet, that's going to give us a little more length to our wire. Let's run that under the carpet, have that pop out right here. May need to pull a little bit more down through just to give you a little more length. Once we get to that point, just pull it up underneath your trim. Now we can make our connection. Once we make our connection, we can tuck our wire back in behind our trim. Now we'll hand our rear sensor back and through into our panel. And just pull that through into the back. Now with the same thing we did in the front, we're going to do the same thing with our rubber trim. We're just going to pull that through, pull off the sticky end. Now where we have that mark, that should line up with our bolt where it's going to read our magnet. Get that stuck in place, push that on. Now we have our ground prong that comes out of this end of our wire, so we're just going to set that aside for now. With our wire put in place, we're going to do the same thing and just pull off that strip. Now everything we do on this side, you will be repeating on the passenger side with your brown wire. Now we'll push our rubber trim back in place. Now on the dots we have on our door, that's where we're going to put our magnets that we have in our kit. So our magnet, just going to pull off the sticky, and we're going to try and line it up with our door screw there. And just get that put in place. On our door side, we're just going to line up with the center. We have this one pretty much centered up with our bolt that goes into our door frame. Now we'll center it up on the door where we made our mark and get our magnet stuck in place. Now back behind our panel, we're going to have a 10mm bolt right down in here. It's kind of hard to see, but that's where we're going to run our ground. So we have our split connector here, and we're just going to back this 10mm out. And then we're going to put this in there and tighten down our 10mm. Now after we have our ground wire set up, just want to tuck our wires down and away from our seat belt action. We don't want to get that into anything that's going to cause any issues or pull on our wire. And once we have that all in place, now we can go ahead and start getting our panels put back in place. Now we just want to find a good location for our override switch. And what this is going to do is it basically, you can turn this off and you'll be able to open your door and your running boards won't open up at all. So what we're going to do is, I like this right over in here. Now I'm just going to clean this up with some alcohol. Make sure we don't have a bunch of Armor All or anything there that will make it not want to stick. Now with that, we'll just pull off our backing. Now with that off, we'll just get that stuck in place, kind of up out of the way where it's not going to get bumped. Now with that stuck on, we can make our connection. Just want to line up the rounded end with the rounded end in your plug. Get that clicked together. Now we can bundle up our wires. We'll get these all tied together and we'll just tuck them right back here behind this panel. Just kind of want to bundle these up a little bit, just enough so we don't have wires hanging all over. Now I'll just take a wire tie, bring these together. Now we're going to need to get power to our system. We have our red wire, which is going to the positive terminal on our battery, and we have our negative terminal. This is going to go to our negative terminal. So now I have my fuses out while I make my connections. So I'll start with my negative terminal. This is going to take a 10mm And go ahead and back off that nut where our line comes in. Now I just want to route my lines underneath this bracket. Do that with our negative wire. Now we'll take our ring terminal of our negative black wire and plug that on and get our nut started down. Now we'll go ahead and re-tighten that. Get that good and tight. Now to get at our positive terminal, we have these little tabs we want to push in and pull off our cover. Underneath that cover, we're going to have a 13 millimeter nut right here. Go ahead and back that off. Now we'll take our red wire, get that put onto our positive terminal, get our nut put back in place and tighten down. With those connected, we'll take our 25 amp fuses and we'll get those put back into both of our fuse holders. Get those covered. Now I just want to route my wire back where that's going to allow me to put my cover back on. It has this little area here. That's going to let me put my cover on. Get everything lined back up and pop that back in place. Now you just want to tuck away all your wires. Make sure it looks nice and clean. With power to it, now we can do a little test and make sure everything is working correctly. So we'll open our driver's side door and we can see that it opens up nicely. We'll go ahead and close that. Now we'll check our back door. And working good. Now we'll check the passenger side. Now we're going to get our LED lights installed. So we're just going to take a little alcohol and wipe down all the areas where we're going to put our LEDs. Peel back our adhesive and get our light stuck in place. Just push that on. Now we can take our wire and get that plugged in. Now we're going to have a little notch out of the end of our plug, and then we're going to have a little spot on the inside of our plug where that's going to line up. So we may need to turn those just a little bit to get those in line. Once we get those to line up, we'll be able to push that in place. And once it lights up, you can tell it's working. Now we'll just repeat the same process for all of our other lights. Now this one here in the back, we just want to line it up with the same side, the same place on the same side, just to keep things evened up. So I counted 3 of these rubber plugs over, and we'll get it installed right here at this third one. Now with everything working, we'll go back through and clean up all of our wirings, just get everything tied up and out of place, and that'll do it for our installation.